media such as video games, film, TV, commercials. So everything you watch on your cell phone, on the television, and when we used to go to movie theater, somebody had to record those sounds. So that's where it starts. I get a piece of paper, sometimes called a cue sheet or a shot list, and I get a list of what we need for this project. So I have a lot of microphones. I'll show various lengths, sizes. So this is what you call a typical shotgun mic. So if you look at a movie set, you see the hairy thing above the actor on top of the camera. So this is the typical shotgun microphone that's inside the windshield kits, the blimps, to capture the isolated sounds of the actors. And a lot of times, so I don't do that part. I do mainly sound effects, meaning a race car going by, a weapon firing to animals. So I use shotgun sounds to isolate to capture just that sound without anything else. So as we were talking before, we try to avoid insect sounds. So if the insects are over to my right, I'll have the subject be on the left so that the sounds are the unwanted sounds are behind me. So that's why we use things like the shotgun microphones as opposed to like a handheld vocal mic so that you get the directness. So I use a lot of these microphones, and I myself own over 50 microphones. They all have their purposes. So I'll use these for mainly car sounds, these for a boat, a sailboat, and these for capturing weapons. So there's never one thing you could do with them. There's multiple things. So, and that's what I do. So companies hire me, say, we need these sounds. And what I do specifically is capturing extremely loud sounds, explosives, gunshots, race cars. So, um, yeah, so all these things come from the tools that I have. And sometimes I use as simple as a little handheld recorder to a big recorders that can't really fit on my lap. So after you're done, look at the videos that I provided. It shows you some of the things I recorded with the different gear I have. So with those sounds, they're massive wave files. They're big. A lot of times I'm buying an external hard drive just for that job. So I could save it on there and really ship it to my customer in England, my customer in California, because it's just too much to send to my Google Drive, for example. So um, the tools I use, some of you may have heard Pro Tools. We use Pro Tools in Recording Studio to edit sounds. And a lot of times when we're syncing sounds to what we see, the different scenes of the movie, we're using Pro Tools to edit and to layer and to design the sounds according to the picture. So if you see somebody doing a slow punch, that sound has to match the distance and the speed of it impacting somebody, or a car cornering by, it may be sped up or slowed down. So a lot of times we're using this software to cut and to edit, that way it matches what you see, rather than like a bad kung fu movie where the lips are behind and the dialogue's going. So we had to be right in sync. So I use a lot of different tools and plugins. Some of you may be familiar with plugins for uh, programs like Photoshop. But we have a lot of plugins for the audio software, plugins to remove too much boom, too much closeness of the mic, or we want more echo effect. So one of the projects I worked on is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the latest one. So somebody asked me that before we started this. So my role was to capture the way that gunshot echoes off of urban environment as well as indoor. So we had to use actual weapons, but we used blank ammunition. So a lot of the movie sets you see, if you've seen behind the scenes, they actually use blank firing. That way we don't hurt anybody or destroy
Can I go
property.
in? Can
So
I
we
go
had a
by?
lot of these blank ammunitions for a 50 caliber rifle, different things we use to capture the sounds of it. So if you play the game and you shoot to an alleyway and you hear the way the sound ping pongs off of that alley, that's what we did, and as well as with the explosives. So our role was to capture for an entire week here in Florida all those sounds. So we were about as far as 500 to 600 feet away from the guys who handle all the weapons and explosives, and so that's what we did. So that was just one part of multiple parts of what it takes to make one game, and again, that's a small part of the whole sound. So they had to on their own record gunshots on their own, and then my job was to capture the way it echoes off of buildings inside and out. So um, the and how I got started was that I was very good at music back in school. I was in chorus. I was playing piano, and a professor visited me and asked me if I could attend his school and offer me a great scholarship. I said, "Great! Well, I got a scholarship for music." So I went. I studied music education, um, and it wasn't until later on I found out that writing music composition was my strong point. So with that, I started doing more of that and less of education. And later on, when I got a job to write music for a game, the customer asked me, can you also do sound effects? So now that we're in music and sound. So, well, let me give it a try. I have a lot of microphones. So I went and recorded the sound effects and edit them the way he wanted them. And he liked it. So it worked out. And I really enjoy going outside as opposed to sitting in a studio all day long. So I love to see the sunshine, to get access to animals, to a Ferrari, things like that. So it really sparked an interest. So I kept going. I tried job after job, and then eventually landed to bigger jobs. And so that's how I got started, and just kept going. So you do what you're good at, and you use the proper equipment, and you could do a good job, and people will hire you. Does anybody have any question before we move on?
Yeah, so I have three questions that popped in. What movies have you provided sound for? So that was Anthony, and then
Okay,
I'll give the other ones, let you answer it, and then I'll give you the other two.
okay. I worked on Baby Driver. So if you've seen Jamie Foxx is in there, I was called right when they finished shooting the film in Atlanta, Georgia. They asked me, can you be available? I said, sure, I can be available. They said, can you arrive tonight? Like, oh, wow. I was on the expressway and talking on the phone with the producer. And so we negotiated a fair price. I got off the expressway and drove home. And the travel agency woman called me and said, okay, what city are you flying out from? And I told her, and she said, okay, we get last flight is 7:30 p.m. I said, I'll take it. So I went home and got all my gear together, spoke to the people on set, what they have versus what I have, and I flew to Atlanta that evening. And next day, and they finished filming the movie, and so I had access to all the stunt cars. So the red Subaru car that drifted around doing 270, 180, I was in that car with microphones surrounding it to capture onboard sounds. So onboard is what you and I hear from the driver's and passenger's point of view. And then the other guy was assigned outside to capture the pass by. So what you hear from the outside point of view. So like a fan at a racetrack, you're hearing cars passing by you. So Baby Driver was one of the great movies I worked on. Had a privilege to do so, and I worked on a British movie called 71, where I was tasked to record gunshots for. So it was about 1971 when the Irish and British didn't get along, and so I had to do that. Um, but my sound effects libraries that I produce, these are libraries you can purchase, and use those sounds into the picture. It's been in various movies and commercials. So you'll see more on my website.
Second question. In what scenario would you want to record background sounds in a recording as opposed to filter them out?
They always want background sounds. So if you hear two people speaking on a television show, for example, it's kind of sterile to have nothing when you're standing in the middle of the woods. So they do record background sounds, the ambience, and they fill it in. So that's just not dryness of two people talking, kind of boring. But it's nice to see a forest behind you and you hear maybe distant birds and some crickets in the background, or maybe the branches moving from the wind. So we always do ambience recordings to add to the dialogue to make it the real experience to enhance it.
Have you ever experienced a hard time trying to record a specific sound?
Always. I've um, something always goes wrong. I was recording a Red Bull race car. It's a rally race car, and this Honda Civic. It's a Honda Civic, 600 horsepower, went from 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds. So you count 1, 2, you're already at 60 miles per hour. And I was in the car. There's no real passenger seat. It's just a race car driver with his custom seat. He took off, and I was being thrown around on this fake chair I had. And my recorder that sits on me, where all the microphone cables are plugged into, being thrown around. It was so violent that it dislocated my battery cable. So I need a battery to power my recorder. And so it dislocated this $2 cable. So when I got out, I talked to my customer in England. I said, well, my battery's dead. I have a backup recorder. We could use that, but it's less microphones. So if you do that. So she said, well, use this, and that should be fine. So this is why sometimes I often bring backup equipment because something will fail. And so when you know it's a $2 battery cable that almost killed the project, but this is why we bring extra stuff just in case.
What was your favorite recording you've done?
For Planet Coaster, the game, I was tasked to record roller coaster sounds. So I made a lot of phone calls, inquiries to different theme parks here in America. And I found a theme park that would close during when school starts because kids are back in school on the weekdays. So they would only open on weekends. So I asked them to give me a quote for 2 full days by myself to record each of those rides. So I was tasked to record 8 different rides. And so the customer in England said, Watson Wu got the ultimate fast pass. So I had to sit on a ride. I was forced to sit on a ride and record the sound same time, what it sounds like from the rider's point of view. And some of the rides were so violent that I couldn't wear headphones. They would fall off. You're spinning upside down and twisting. So I would just watch my recorder when I was straight, because if you're spinning and you look down, you'll get dizzy. So when I was straight, I would look down and look at what my recorder is telling me. If it's too much red, it's too loud. It's too little, it's not loud enough. So I would look and adjust. And every time I come back to the end of the ride, the guy would give me my headphones. I would review and listen and adjust my recording level, give him back the headphones, hit record and ride again. And I had to do that 10 times for every ride, and then jump out to capture the passing of the sounds. So I couldn't believe it. I could still pinch myself and say, wow, I actually recorded roller coasters. All those times we waited in long lines for roller coaster rides. Now I didn't have to do that. I just go. So that was probably one of the best trips I've ever had.
Somebody asked, would you be working on the game Cold War? I'm assuming that's a new game coming out. Is that the Call of Duty Cold War? Did you do any work on that?
Is that that's I don't think that's from the same company. There are many versions. No, nobody called me yet. So if you know somebody, let them know. I'm available.
Yeah, I think it's a new one, the Black Ops Call of Duty Cold War
Okay,
edition.
that's a different group. So
Oh,
they
okay.
have different groups for different versions of the Call of Duty.
What would be your sort of dream thing to record that nobody's asked you to do yet?
Well, I haven't done a spaceship yet, SpaceX. So maybe that's in the works. I don't need a ride in it. Maybe I'll just rig the mics and hit record and walk away. And when the spacecraft comes back, I'll hit stop and review it. So that's something I haven't done yet.
Okay. Guys have um is there been have you ever like not like recording something? It was just awful to record.
Uh, when the weather's too hot, it just you're in Florida. I think the hottest I've been was in Nevada desert. It was 120 degrees in the shade. So we had our vehicle doors, the trunk tailgate up, so we're under the shade. And as the day progressed, the shade moved, so we had to move our tables with the shade. And it was like the entire time. And we almost ran out of water. We only had soda left. So when you're that hot, you don't want soda. You know, if you like soda regularly, you wouldn't want it. It was that brutal. So when it's that hot, I don't enjoy it anymore. It just and my recorder started failing. That's how hot it got. So cooler weather, it's better.
Okay, let's see. Have you ever done any kind of recording like for a fighting game? Um, I'm assuming like contact person on person or weapon on weapon, like swords hitting
Yeah,
or
yeah,
um,
yeah. I've done some movie trailers where we had to do impacts with different metal objects, swords, sticks, pipes. So I've done that, and a lot of times when we're doing hits of impacts of person on person, we use celery sticks. We use different vegetables to create that kind of sound. We use pillows, different hitting pads, and we layer them so they sound interesting.
so this is sort of like the old radio show where the guy's, slamming the door and
Yeah,
walking with the
yeah,
shoes and
yep, yep. So
okay.
that's from a person named Jack Foley. That's what we call the Foley sounds.
Okay, good. Um, what's the most odd recording request you've ever gotten?
Wow. Hmm. It's hard to say. Sometimes I have to look back and see what I've done.
Maybe you didn't end up doing it.
Maybe I didn't. Sometimes I'm asked to record something very specific, or sometimes a substitute. Because sometimes when you find that exact vehicle, it's kind of boring, just there. So sometimes it's better to record something that sounds better, similar to it, but it's ear candy rather than eye candy.
How long have you been doing recording of sounds now?
Since 2001 or so.
Okay.
Yeah, I've recorded a lot of
Um,
sounds, but as professional, 2001.
so do you have any advice for anybody that wants to maybe start a career in recording?
Okay, I would suggest that you maybe try to volunteer at a recording studio or live concerts where you could be taught how to place microphones in certain places. I recommend getting an inexpensive microphone. You could get a shotgun microphone for under $500, and it comes with a blimp system, not like this, but something a little less expensive. So you have the grip, the suspension, and you have the mic, and you get an inexpensive recorder. So and nice pair of headphones. So if you have that, you can then start recording and learn how to record. So when I record, you want silence before the action So if you're slamming a door, for example, you want to make sure it's quiet right before it happens, slam, and after the sound disappears, you still want that silence, and then that's where you hit stop or you move on or do it again. So you want silence before, slam, sound echoes off, dies off, more silence, then you do it again. That way you get clean sounds every time you perform a Foley.
Do you ever electronically manipulate the sounds after you record them to make
Yes,
them sound more dramatic or less dramatic or?
yes. So that's called sound design. So we use different plugins and we do different layering, play different speed, and so we could then enhance those sounds. So sometimes, for example, a car engine, we might, if you know music, you could double the octaves. You could have, let's say the sound, the exhaust sounds like the sound of G. You could then have the upper octave of another G of that same engine pitched up, and when you play it, it sounds bigger. So, and we done it with crowds. I've done Madden football, where we record the live stadium crowds at a football game, and we would have to edit the sounds so that you're not going to hear something specific. You know, and you're not going to say "Go Bears." You're going to hear just the pure crowd sound without nothing distinguishable. So it's really hard because at a live game you hear the PA system going off. We pre-recorded music, copyrighted hip hop music, pop music, and you'll hear somebody specific a little too loud, and all those things. So we have to edit the sounds and design it so that you can just get pure crowd sounds. And that was a lot of work.
What was the biggest project you ever worked on?
I would say Call of Duty. It just took so much to plan everything. You know, we had the location, which was I think about 30 acres, and we had to make sure that nobody was on site while we were there because these microphones like this, I could pick up sounds from just under a mile away. So that's how sensitive some of these mics are. So if there was another customer on the same location doing a different project, um, like car racing, it would ruin our session. So we had to make sure that we got the entire location to ourselves. We wanted these kinds of microphones, these kinds of recorders. And so the team flew from Los Angeles to Florida, where I am. And we had to stay at a hotel pretty close to the location and organize every night. So we had about, I think, 30 microphones for that project. Every day we had to set up, move around, record, re-record, and then come back, set up again and again for an entire week. So that one, Ghost in the Shell, it's another big one I worked on. We did 7 straight days of recording in the desert. We did gunshots, explosives, ricochets, bullet whiz-bys, the sound of being, hearing the shot going by you. So those are the 2 biggest ones I worked on.
What does somebody typically pay? Like if they want to buy some of your audio samples, I'm assuming based on the question that you've already done, is it based upon they just buy the samples, or it's based on where it's used or how frequently it's used?
If you look on my website, for example, as an example, you could see the store section. You could click on vehicles. I have vehicles that are a library, like a Honda Civic, a common car. It's what, $69, $79 for the whole set, and that whole set will give you sound of what you hear from the engine, and you hear what you hear from the exhaust. So these are the different perspectives. And so if somebody's working on a commercial and you see the scene of a person walking by and a car goes by the person, so that's called a pass by. So you could take that sound in the library and add it to the picture so that when the person's standing there and the car goes by, you hear the panning left and right. So that is a sound effects library that I have that somebody could buy to make it sound correct for that picture. So the variety is huge. It could be very expensive to very inexpensive.
Okay. Which one have you sold the most of?
Um, I would say the military Humvee, military truck. If you look at the military vehicle section,
Okay.
um, it's rare. Not a lot of people get access to actual military vehicles. So I do have some contacts allow me to go in and record those vehicles. So if you went through official channels through our military, you get stopped. I think it's red tape. Yeah, who are you? Are you Michael Bay? Are you some big shot, Clint Eastwood? You're not. Okay, we're not going to let you do that, no matter how
So you're
much you
not going to
pay
be
us.
recording an aircraft carrier anytime soon, right?
Well, if I get the access, I might do it.
Somebody asked, and I know you and I were talking about this earlier for the Call of Duty. Have you ever tried acting in one of your projects?
Acting, I have not. I'm known for the sounds. But I got to tell you, it's funny. I know somebody who was a photography student at a college, and he had to work on a project, and he thought of a scenario. He said, "I need a bad guy. Oh, let me call Watson." So he called me and I asked Watson, "Will you be a bad guy for my student project?" I said, "Well, tell me more about this, because looking at me, I always get searched at TSA, and I would search me if I saw me." So my wife says, "Just smile, and then you'll be okay." So, so he asked me to play a bad guy. He wanted me to wear a suit, dark sunglasses, and this kid, this guy had a really nice Audi R8 sports car. So he found this location that looked like Arizona. So he brought his friends and me. So I was supposed to be the bad guy, double agent, bring this secret briefcase. So if you go on my blog, look for The Deal. So it's a photo shoot, and you see me wearing a suit, looking like a bad guy with an earpiece, um, playing this bad guy role.
Okay, so one last question, and I know we have to be wrapping up, but I'll kind of expand it a little bit. Somebody said, have you ever recorded zombie sounds before? But I'm going to go even one step further, sort of like make believe sounds.
Mm.
Um, I remember reading Star Wars when they made sounds, they were taking all different kinds of sounds and overlapping them and changing them to make what they thought this might sound like.
Right,
Um,
right.
uh,
Yeah, yeah, we've done that. We animals is one of the best way. So if you look at Chewbacca, he's actually a very young bear. There was a bear, and I saw this. If you look at the movie called Making Waves, so Ben Burtt, the sound designer of Star Wars, he talked about this young bear. He loved bread. So if you give him bread, he goes row row row. So he would start eating, and so Ben Burtt would record him eating bread, and that was Chewbacca. So he would pitch him, layer him. So we can do that. And today we have plugins that I could feed my microphone into live and make all different sounds, and the plugin will let you adjust. We want a high pitched roar, we want a low pitched roar, we want a monstrous or a little, make you sound young, make you sound old, and that's how we make those sounds today.
so last question, so then we'll be wrapping up. What's the weirdest sound you've ever recorded?
The weirdest. I just finished working on an Amazon TV show. It's based on a book called The Underground Railroad. So my job was to record ambient sounds. So I was tasked to go to the wilderness and record all kinds of what it sounds like in the South back in the 1800s. So I had to get away from airplanes and traffic and just be by myself. And I heard some of the weirdest insect sounds, and I think I heard maybe some panthers. And you usually don't see them. They're timid. They had to hide behind bushes. So I heard some just strange sounds. I don't know what they are, and I've left recorders out in the middle of nowhere, and when I come back and listen through and my software, I've heard a slithering sound, and I hear crunching. So the whatever creature grabbed hold of the hair that covers the microphone and dragged it 10 feet away. And still today, I don't know what that is. Of course, I found the hair and I made sure I washed it well because I don't know what was touching it.
Well, good. Well, thank you for talking to us. I know everybody's going to be having a good weekend. I'm going to record this and stick it up on our site. So if you guys want to watch it again, I also put up his recommended videos to take a look at.
Great.
Again, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And we'll be doing this again in 2 weeks with somebody else. So
Sounds good.
thank you, sir.
Okay.
I'll give you a
Thank
call
you,
later.
class. All right. Take care.
I like
Thank
your beard.
Thank you for talking to us and have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Thank you.
Labor Day.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
I love your
Have a great
beard.
day.
Thank you.
Yeah, your beard seems to be the consensus. So.
I read one of the chats. He records at Area 51.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a location I use not far from it. My customer called it the top secret road. So
Yeah.
if you look at the video H1Z1, when I'm in the middle of nowhere, that's the location I
Oh,
often
okay.
use. It's great.
How long have you been growing out your beard for?
Oh, well, my son, do you have any brothers and sisters who cry all the time when they were babies?
Me. I'm that brother and sister.
Oh, you okay? All right. My son, when he was born, he would cry every hour on the hour. So I think when my hair just got shorter and started disappearing, so I was thinking, hey, if I could grow south, it would compensate for lack of the north. I think
Smart.
it works out. Yeah, so it stuck.
Okay, well, you guys have a nice weekend.
You too, Gabe.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend. This was a very interesting presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I did see you're on IMDb now.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, I got to work on it. I haven't worked on it. I figured
yeah,
it's
I
easier to
saw
work on
they had
something.
71 on there, and then they had Borderlands
Mhm.
is
Yep.
on there.
Yep.
Do you have to maintain that yourself?
No, I could, but it
But
takes
some
the
of it gets
production.
sucked in, and then
Yeah,
and then they have
production
Baby
usually does
Driver
that.
on there.
Yeah.
So,
Borderlands was interesting. We had to do tire sounds, and that's an interesting video too. At the top secret row, I rented a Tesla car, and the
Okay.
guy.
oh, so you don't have car noise; you just have tire noise.
Yeah. So if you're driving a whatever vehicle in Borderlands and you're doing burnouts or skids or going over a interesting surface, it came from the Tesla. That way we're not getting the exhaust leaked into the recording, just pure tire sounds.
How
And,
did you keep out the ambient like air sounds and all that stuff, or does the windshields normally help with all that?
I had to figure out where. See, you think Tesla, you think it's quiet, but there's so much electronic whine going up and down.
Right, that's why I was wondering.
Speaker.
Like the motors are pretty noisy.
Right, electric motors. So I found out that by using again some kind of shotgun mic, I had to put further away and point at where the tire touches the surface. So if where I was pointing before, it was picking up too much of that electronic whine. So I had to move around, try it again. Okay, that's the best spot. And when he maintains at one speed, let's say 20 miles per hour, then you're not going to hear the rise and the fall of the electronics. So
Right.
if you had some that sustain, we could isolate what that frequency is and remove it. So then just tires.
Yeah, because I guess electric motor is much more consistent on its noise, right?
Right. Or any other modern car. So we had to do burnouts and drifting. So and this guy was able to push the mode on the Tesla called ludicrous. It literally said ludicrous on there.
Okay.
He pushed it and that thing came alive and he was doing drifting. So you watch the video, this guy was doing crazy stuff with his Tesla. You know,
Wow.
he was happy
I
to
have a
do
feeling I don't think do all Teslas have that ludicrous mode, or is this just something special he had?
No, it was a Model 3. So if you look at the base Model 3, it is fast, but it's not going to have ludicrous mode. Ludicrous means traction control is off. Then you
Okay.
could do that. Then it's not safe.
Because I was reading, there's a lot of people that have like downloaded and started to make their own software for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know if you paid much attention to the somewhere out in California, I forget which California university, did the new filter to act as if you're singing in that famous mosque in Turkey.
Oh,
Have you seen
okay.
the article on that?
No, but I know the technology to have
They-
that room tone.
they were given access by the Turkish government to record how a sound reacts in that famous cathedral that's now that was a mosque. I forget Heilig something or other in Turkey. What was interesting is they recorded to make it popping balloons.
I've had to do that.
Why that? They didn't explain it in what I watched because
So there are two ways to record a room tone, what it sounds like in that room. For example, I worked on a game called Rigs, R-I-G-S. It's a futuristic mech warrior battle game, sports. And so I went to the University of Florida, and I asked them, can I go the evening before the game and record the room tone of an empty stadium? They said, yeah, you could do that. I said, now one more question. Can I borrow a starter pistol from a track and field coach? And they got me in touch. And the guy said, yeah, you could borrow mine. How many rounds do you need? I said, well, I don't know, 20. So instead of popping balloons, you could shoot off a starter pistol, a blank round. And so the sound of from almost silence to the peak of the highest volume from the starter pistol, you're going to hear the full frequency come alive, how it reacts and bounces off of objects, the ground, the closest seating, the further seating. So the sound just goes all the way out. So the software we use will react and recreate that space, that large space of what it sounds like. So they asked us, do you think you could get halftime in the game to get these fans to chant Jason, Jason, John, John, whatever names of the characters? I said, I don't think they can do that. No, they're always busy. They have commercials, they have things they do, they have announcements. So they said, well, if you could record room tone, we could take that, and then we could take our actors later and chant specific names of the characters and recreate what they sound like in that large space, the stadium. So that's one way. And the other way is to play a sine wave from low going up to 20,000 hertz, what you and I hear at the maximum highest pitch. So by doing that, that's another way to recreate the sound of that room. Some people prefer that way more because you get the full spectrum.
More control too, probably.
More control, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I just thought it was interesting because they never explained why they did balloons. They just spent,
Well, weapons are illegal in a lot of countries.
They might not like you shooting a starter pistol in a mosque.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's why I asked, can we borrow a starter pistol?
Right.
And there were people around like, I'm going to shoot out a starter pistol. Don't be alarmed. And they're like, well, we know. Don't worry. That's okay. Good. So my helper was shooting it off.
Well, thank you. I will talk to you later. And then I'll send you the raw recording I have too.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Talk to you later.
Great. Take care.